A pacesetter is someone, once again, who chooses to serve, someone who is thankful for what God has done and is doing in our lives as well as in the lives of others, being an example for others to follow as we follow the ultimate pacesetter, which is who? Jesus. Y'all got it. Y'all can talk back to me. So, and being a pacesetter is also Philippians 2. So let's go ahead and go to Philippians 2. I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation. Philippians 2, and we're going to start with verse 1. And there's some things I want to lift out from Scripture. There's some things I want to lift out from this conversation that Paul was having with the church of Philippi. And he was really, the Apostle Paul was dope. Y'all already know that's my man. And I loved his mission. He went back into the church to correct some things, to shape some things up, to build some structure within the ministry. And just so he can kind of shift the hearts of believers. And he was I guess you could say he was Jesus' main man. That was the guy that went before him and got some things straight. But I love Paul. I love the letter that he wrote to the church of Philippi. And right here in Philippians chapter 2, verse 1, we're going to read through this. It says, "Is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate?" Verse 2. Paul says, "Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other." Stop right there. Let's say that line together. Agreeing wholeheartedly with each other. Let's say it. 1, 2, 3. Agreeing wholeheartedly with each other. That's got to be impossible. What is Paul asking us to agree on everything? Come on, politics, sports, parenting. You're asking us, Paul, to agree on all these things? So I had to take a pause when I was reading the scripture. I was like, Paul, that's impossible. We're not going to agree on everything. Some people like LeBron James. Some people think Kobe's better. Some people think Jordan's better. We're not going to agree on these things. Some people like Trump. Some people don't like Trump. Some people like what his administration is doing. Some people don't. We're not going to agree on all these things. So Paul cannot be asking us to agree on every topic and subject. So I had to dig a little deeper. And what I found out was that Paul was not asking us to agree on every subject and every topic. What Paul was asking us to agree on, he was asking us to agree, whether you agree or not, let's agree that we are both worthy of love, respect, and honor. If we can agree on those terms alone, we can eventually get to a place and figure out why we don't agree on the subjects and topics. But that's not what God is nitpicking about. He's not saying, no, I need you guys to agree on the same president, agree on the same star player. No, God is not asking for that. But we can at least agree that you and I are both worthy of love, honor, and respect. Anytime I'm dealing with anybody, regardless of their approach, regardless of what they believe, regardless of their ideology, regardless of the theology, regardless of their feelings towards the presidential office, regardless of what they think needs to be done, and you disagree with it or agree with it, it does not matter. What I can agree on, though, is that regardless of all of that, you are still worthy of love, honor, and respect. Thank you. Is my lips chapped? Can y'all give it up for my wife, please? She's the only one that can do that. Thank you. Back to the sermon. But what we can agree on, let's agree on these terms, that you are worthy, you and I are worthy of love, honor, and respect. Here's the benefit of that. Here's why that's important. This is why Paul wants us to agree at least on those terms. Because I know y'all crazy. Y'all not going to agree on just all this other stuff. You're not going to agree on every topic and subject. Some people parent their children different from somebody else. Your way may not be somebody else's way. That's cool. That's cool. That's not what I'm bothered by. But what I will agree on is that I can love you, I can still respect you, and I can still honor you regardless of what we disagree about. Amen? Here's the benefit of that. When you love, honor, and respect, when you agree on those terms, the benefit is trust, transparency, and truth. When you love, honor, and respect, the benefit is trust, transparency, and truth. When you can show and give love, honor, and respect, that will allow someone to trust you, trust the God in you, which then leads to transparency, which then follows truth. And then you'll be able to figure out why their viewpoint, which is what you disagree with, is right to them. Because if you can't, if all you're going to do is stay at the surface level and just disagree on topics, you'll never get to the root as to why that person believes what they believe in the first place. And we're in this thing to build relationships, to encourage people, to build other people up. Paul says in the same text to take an interest into others. You can't take an interest into others if you're always finding out what you don't like about others. So when you can at least agree on these terms to love, honor, and respect, we can eventually get to a place where we can have a productive conversation in love, in respect, and in honor as to why we disagree in the first place. And you will begin to see why their right is right to them and why it's wrong to you. Because there's always a root as to why people believe what they believe. It's always a root as to why this guy parents his son different from yours. It's not just because he's crazy. It may be because he was brought up the same exact way, and that's the only way he knows. But you would never know that if you never love, honor, and respect people. Amen? So that's the benefit. That is the benefit, of love, honoring, and respecting people. You get to trust, transparency, and truth. And what that's called is relationship, and you've just put yourself in the position to be a pace setter in someone's life, to help set the temperature, to help set the pace in someone else's life. You only get that position when you love, honor, and respect. If you choose to stay right there and keep bumping heads, you never get to that place of where we can actually build together. And God is calling us to become closer. God is calling us to be relationship builders. God is calling us to love, honor, and respect one another. Is that good? Does that help you all? Then Paul goes on to say, love one another and working together with one mind and one purpose. And then he says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Look at your neighbor and say, don't be selfish. Say it with some attitude, y'all. Y'all too soft. Don't be selfish. What you doing? Like, we in church. You're supposed to be, help other people out. Give your piece of gum. I asked you for it a few minutes ago. I know my breath saying, give me your gum. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. So I wanted to lift up this part in Paul's conversation. Why would he say don't be selfish? Why would he tell us not to impress others? So let's be honest. We all love being, or we've dreamed of being, the star player, right? You might shy away from it now, but you've dreamed before of being that guy or that girl. You've dreamed of seeing your name in lights. You dreamed of being the main attraction. You dreamed of being, that person that everybody wants to see. Everybody came to see this person. You are that person. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with dreaming big. There's nothing wrong with seeing your name in lights. There's nothing wrong with seeing you going far. There's nothing wrong with being the best in whatever your profession is, whether it's sports, whether it's the medical field, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with dreaming big. The problem is, some of us won't be a part of anything unless we are that person. Some of us won't engage. Some of us won't be a part of any organization, any team, or nothing, unless I'm the star player. How can we be what God has called us to be, which is pacesetters, when we're selfish, self-centered, and arrogant? So we won't even be a part. We don't want to engage. No, I don't want to be a part of the worship team unless I'm the one leading. No, I don't want to be a part of the church because God has called me to pastor, so I won't serve in any other position unless I have the mic in my hand pastoring. I won't pick up a broom. I won't shake people's hands. We won't say these things verbally, but our actions and in our hearts, this is how we think. This is how some people think. If I can't get the attention, if I can't get the glory, then I don't want to be a part. I wanted to use the picture that Pastor used last week, and of this particular runner, and I believe his name is Eliud Kipchoge. I think I said his name right. Can we get that picture up here real quick? And I want us to see something real quick. We got it? So here we go. So y'all see this picture? Pastor showed this last week. And what's dope about this picture is, who do you see? You see the winner. You see that guy. You see the star player. Who's in the background? Y'all say whatever, his team, his Pacesetters from what Pastor talked about. You know why how some of y'all see yourselves? You know why it's hard for us to be the Pacesetters that God has called us to be? We've never dreamed of being the guys in the back. We've always saw ourselves being that guy or that girl or the star player. We've never saw ourselves serving. We saw ourselves being served. I mean, let's be real. When you dreamed about being the star player, you was thinking about room service. You was thinking about curbside service. You was thinking about, this is what I need in my room in order for me to come and do my thing. I got to have grapes. I got to have strawberries. You was thinking about all that. You was thinking about the car you was going to drive. You was thinking about everybody who needs to serve you. There's nothing wrong with being real. That's what you thought about. You thought about things being brought to you. You never thought about the one that had to be doing the bringing. You never dreamed because you didn't want your life to be like this, blurry. You had a problem with being in the background. I ain't gonna say had, because some of us have that issue. You have an issue with being in the background. You have an issue with being the second thought. You have an issue with being blurred out. You have an issue with someone else taking the glory and you being in the back. But what I love about this picture is even through the blurriness, you still see the happiness. You still see the joy, because there was something that these people understood. It wasn't about taking the glory. It wasn't about being the man out front. It wasn't about being the star player. They knew that he would not have won had it not been for me playing my role. You can't be a pace setter if you're envious of the one that you're serving. Paul is telling the church in Philippians to think of others as better than yourself. That don't sit well with a lot of us. You know, I can't think of them as better than me. I mean, look at them. Come on, look at them. Come on, they not even close as good as me. They can't do it. They not styling like me. They not this type of person. I can't think of them as better than me. I say, and Paul is like, look, y'all looking at the wrong thing. It's not about clothes. It's not about performance. It's not about those things. This is about love, honor, and respecting other people. Some of us never dreamed of being the people blurred out in the background. And some of us, we always wanted the glory. We never thought about being the second person behind and being behind stage. But it's important for you to understand your role. When you are a pace setter, it's not about you getting the glory. When you are a pace setter, it's not about you being up front. When you are a pace setter, it's understanding that you are part of the greater picture. And had you not played your role, the person that's out in front would have not won in the first place. So it's important for you to understand your value and not envy the pace that someone else is running, or not envy the person that you're serving. Some of us won't serve because we're envious of the one that we're serving. Some of us won't sing background because we envy the one that's singing out front. Some of us won't be the sixth man off the bench because we're envious of the 5 starters that's in front of us. We saw this in the NBA. I'm gonna say his name too, but that's my man. I thought he is an amazing basketball player. Dude is a terrific scorer. But he even said it himself, that he had an issue with being the 6th man off of the bench. And the guy I'm talking about is Carmelo Anthony. And we see where he's at right now, right? How does this all-time NBA star, crazy scorer, since high school, this man has been a beast, right? He's been the franchise player of 2 teams. And then when he moved on, coach tell him, I'm going to have you come off the bench, right? Matter of fact, it wasn't even that you had to come off the bench. We're going to just put you on a 10-day contract and see how you work out in our 9-man rotation. 10 days was up. That game was over. Coach came to him and said, we don't need your services anymore. Bro, this is Carmelo Anthony. You don't need his services? That's somebody you tell somebody local. You don't tell Carmelo Anthony we don't need your services anymore. Like, what's going on? So Carmelo Anthony had an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and he said, this is what he said. He said, after coach told me to be the 6th man off the bench, I already got over that. I already had to wrestle with being the 6th man because I'm that guy. I'm the star player. I don't come off the bench. And some of you are the same way. When God is saying, no, I need you to pick up a broom instead of a mic. That's why I need you to serve for a minute. Or I need you to be a door greeter instead of the worship leader. That's why I need you to serve in this season. Or I need you to help other people instead of being in front and watching people serve you. This is why I need you in this season. And some of us are wrestling with that six-man position. We're wrestling with coming off the bench because we never dreamed of coming off the bench. We've always seen ourselves as that guy in front. But, this is what's hard for us to become the pacesetters that God wants us to become in this world, in other people's lives, is because we envy those that we serve. We envy those that we serve. I'm not going to say that too long. I feel like I stepped on a few toes when I said that, but that's cool. And then Paul goes on to say, be humble, thinking of others, and I said this before, as better than yourself. I want to kind of correct something with this because Paul is not talking about better as in comparison, right? He's not, think of them as a better ball player than you or think of them as a better person. This is not you comparing yourself to them, right? Because God is calling us, because when you begin to compare yourself to people, you will begin to look at what you don't have and what they do have, and instead of being a pace setter, you begin to be a pace taker. And instead of you setting the pace that God has called you to, instead of you running the lane that God has called you to, you start to look at someone else's pace and someone else's lane, and you begin to take on what they have. Here's a problem with that. Your role is left uncovered. What God has called you to do, that position is not covered. Remember the example that Pastor Shannon gave us last week when he showed how the pacemakers were in place. So you had the runner in the middle, you had 2 people in the back, and then you had 4 people creating a V shape, right? Now imagine if one of those people in the front was envious or comparing themselves to the actual runner, and he decided not to even be a part. So imagine this race going, and they're running, and he's like, you know what? I'm tired of serving this dude. I'm going to just go ahead and get off at the next exit. Imagine what that does to the whole picture. Because you was envious of someone else, you started to compare yourself to someone else's pace. The pace that God wanted you to run was left uncovered. And it's important for us to understand this. This is why I always make it my intentional duty to value other people and allow them to understand your role is important. Yes, I might be in front, but I can't do what I do if you don't do what you do. And this is why it's important for us to get this as a church and as a body of believers. It's important for us to encourage other people of their role. Because there's people around you that serve with you that think that their role is insignificant. And what they need to do is walk into a place that encourages their role, even if it is small, but it's big in the bigger picture of things. Yes, you stand at the door and greet people, but trust me, you are the first person people meet. And if you're nasty, they may never even get to the worship experience. So your role is important because you're the first one that can change someone else's day. Not Pastor Shannon, not Pastor Corey, not Brittany, not anybody else that's on this stage. You are the temperature setters way before they get into the sanctuary. And it's important for you to understand your role. Even though you think it's small, it's important for people to be in a body of people that can encourage you and let you know it may look small, but trust me, if you're not there, they won't get to hear. If we won't have kids watching kids in the kids' corner, some of y'all would not come to church. Let's be honest. One of the main things that keeps people to come to church and stay at church is, do you have a place for my kids? Because if you don't, I'm not coming. It's as simple as that. And we're grateful for those that serve in Kids Corner. But imagine if everybody serving in Kids Corner thought that their role was insignificant. And then that abundance of volunteers now goes down to one person. One person is not about to watch all your kids. But they all left because they thought that their role was insignificant. So it's important for us as a body of believers. And sometimes you can read people and you can tell that they feel like that what they're doing is insignificant. It's important for us to use that level of discernment and see, hey, don't fall to the wayside. Trust me, you're a key player on this team. You're needed on this team. It may seem small to everybody else. It may seem small to you, but trust me, if you don't do what you do, there's a lot of other things that won't get done. So it's important for us to value one another and value the position that they play throughout the whole team. So comparison, we then become misplaced when we begin to compare our lives to other people. And when you compare your lives to other people, when you compare your pace to other people, your spot is left uncovered. I just wanted to encourage you this morning to let you know whatever role, whatever position, whatever pace that you're moving in, it is valuable. It is important. And what you're doing in the kingdom of God, God adores and he honors that. I think the correction that we have to have in the body of Christ is learning how to value one another and allowing other people to see the value in what it is that they do and what they do in the big scheme of things, right? Just a personal testimony, a personal testimony. I throughout my whole musical career, I was always behind stage. I was always behind the artist. I was always behind someone. I was always supporting someone else's vision, playing someone else's music, learning someone else's stage set, learning someone else's show, and always in the background. I don't think I ever was envious because I was always the one that was like, yeah, I'm cool with being in the back. And some of us are cool with being in the background, and that's cool. I appreciate people who actually love serving in the background. They don't really have a spot for, because those are the people you ain't got to argue with. Those are the people you ain't got to worry about bumping heads with. It's the ones that want your position and will do anything to try to get your position. But for the ones that actually love serving in the background, I can appreciate those people because they've seen value in what they do and for everything else to work. And I believe I was one of those people that I understood my role as a bass player. You know, it's not for me to be out front. I mean, imagine me playing behind an artist and I'm stepping out front doing dance moves with my bass, trying to take the spotlight from the person that is supposed to be getting the glory in this moment. I forget my place. I forget my role. Here is the band. And here's the worst part. I don't do it in rehearsal. I only do it when it's showtime. So in rehearsal, I'm playing my role. I'm playing my notes right. I'm playing with the band. I'm not standing out. I'm playing with. But when showtime comes, I play extra notes. I'm coming out above my spot. I'm trying to get all the shine and all the glory. When you envy someone else's pace, when you envy someone else's glory, when you envy someone else's position, your position is left. And everybody's like, yo, what you doing? You're not even playing the bass no more. You just did a splits with your bass. Like, that's not even what you're supposed to be doing. And you hit the wrong note when you did the split. So what you doing? Right? Because we're out of place, because we're envying someone else's pace. You cannot set the pace if you're always taking someone else's pace. God is not calling us to take. The only pace you should be taking is the pace of God. Jesus' pace. He set the pace. He is the example that we follow. And then he has given us the power and the spirit to do the same thing. Before he ascended, he said, I'm leaving something with you. I'm leaving you a comforter. I'm leaving you a guider. I'm leaving you something that's going to help steer you in the right direction and keep you within the will of God. You have the power to do what I did and even greater works. So God is letting you know right there, once you take this mantle from me, you don't have to take it from no one else. I've already given you your identity. I've already given you your pace. I've already given you your marching orders. You don't have to envy someone else's position. You are a pace setter. Somebody say, I am a pace setter. I am a pace setter. I was encouraging a friend of mine, and she's a trendsetter. And what she would do, she would wear stuff, and people would clown her for it. I thought it was dope. But people would clown her for it. Like, she would post it on her Instagram, and people would comment like, yo, why she wearing that? Like, don't nobody do stuff like that. So I encouraged her once. I said, look, don't worry about the haters, because what you're doing, I ain't never seen nobody else do. So you're literally a trendsetter. Like, trust me, a lot of people who are the first at doing something, they got all the hate. They got all the nasty words. They got all the opinions. They got everything. But the ones that persevered and made it to the top, those are the ones that didn't listen to none of that. Because when you are a pace setter, when you are a trend setter, Outside forces have nothing to do or don't move you or waver you off of your pace. Because here's where your identity is rooted in. One of the songs said it. It said, I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. That means nothing can move me from this. I'm a pace setter. You can't change my pace unless God is elevating me to another pace. You can't change. You can be as opinionated as you want to. You can talk about me as much as you want, but this is the pace that I'm setting. This is the pace that God has given me to set, and I won't be moved. I saw something that came across my news feed, and it was talking about Instagram is going to try out taking away likes for like a week or something like that. And I posted on my story, I was like, man, what are y'all going to do? Because for some people, the only way their pace is readable or measurable is through likes. I only know if I look good or I'm doing good by how many people like what I got going on. And you know what this is going to reveal for a lot of people? This is going to reveal the foundation where their identity was set in the whole time. But what I'm encouraging the body of faith, what I'm encouraging the body of believers to know is that your foundation is not rooted in likes. It's not rooted in social media. It's not rooted in those things that can fail at any time. Your life is rooted in the identity and in the love and the heart of God. And it's a firm foundation. And that means nobody, nothing, not even Instagram, can move or waver your pace. Look at yourself and say, I am a pace setter. I am a pace setter. So I just wanted to encourage you. I hope what I was speaking about this morning helped you out tremendously because it helped me out a lot. And back to my personal testimony, I was always used to being out behind people, right? And God is bringing me to a season where there's music that he has assigned to me and only me. That means I'm the only one that can release this music because I wrestled with that for a long time. I wrestled with identity. I wrestled with having the courage to step out in front and actually perform in other people. And God was like, bro, you do this on Sunday mornings when you lead worship. Why are you tripping right now? And I kept giving God, but you know, it's different. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Can't I just sell these songs to other people? It's like, nah. And even if you try, that deal won't fall through. Because I assigned this music to you, and you're the only one that can carry it. And there's some things that God has handed off to you, and God has assigned it to you. It cannot be handed off to someone else. It has your name on it. It has your identity on it. You are supposed to be the pace setter for it. And no one else can take it from you, even if you try. You can try to hand off that assignment. You can try to say, you know what, she's better at doing it. How about she do it? No. You have to be the one that carries out this assignment. And I'm here to encourage you to let you know that you can complete that assignment. God has given you everything that you need. And if you feel like it's not there, it's going to show up. Any resource, any encouragement, any confidence that you need to go forth with this assignment, God is going to give it to you because you are a pace setter. You're not a pace taker. And you're not a pace handoffer. That's a word. That's a word. Today it's a word. You're not a pace handoffer. I don't know how. Somebody spell it and post it for me. You're not a pace handoffer. And God is saying, listen, I need you guys to be pace setters. Because what your identity and what your pace is rooted in is in a firm foundation. Tim, you can go ahead and come on up here, brother, if you're in here. Unless Corey says and make me sound good. But if we could just stand for this moment. And once again, I pray that this word helps you all out. I love Paul. I love his assignment. I love what he was doing in the church. I love the letters that he wrote. And Paul was setting his pace even while he was in jail. Like he wasn't even there with the people, but he was being a pace setter even while other people was trying to hold him down. He was like, look, I might not be there physically, but I'm going to get these letters to you so I can set the pace that God has told me to set. Paul is a perfect example that nobody can stop you from being the pace setter that God has called you to be. When you go to work tomorrow, set the pace. When you go to school tomorrow, set the pace. When you're on your job, wherever you're at, set the pace. And how do you set the pace with other people? You love and respect and honor them. Period. Period. You love, respect, and honor people. People are going to come to work and they're going to be messed up. They're going to be, still tired. They're going to be groggy. They're going to be disrespectful. They're going to want to argue. They're going to want to, rush and be nasty and stuff like that. And you know what? You can take on that pace if you want to, but it's not going to make for a good day. God has called you to set the pace and understand, look, I know you mad. I know you tripping. I know you don't want to be here. I don't want to be here neither. But while we're here, we're going to make the best of it. Those are the words of Pacesetters. Pacesetters say, I know it's Monday, but Monday has the potential to be better than Friday. I know they don't pay me much, but it's in my power to go somewhere else and get paid more. So I don't have to stay here. But while I'm here, I'm going to make it the best situation. I don't like you. That's the truth. But while I'm here, we're going to work together. And I'm going to make sure, even though we disagree on President Trump, I say that really not to joke, but I say that because that's really separated a lot of people. And it's like you start to have a political conversation, not even trying to get deep. You're like, man, what's Trump doing? Or some people are like, what you think about Trump? And everybody's like, you know what? That guy's a Trump supporter. I don't want to, I'm like, bump that. No, I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or not. That's not my issue. My issue is that whether I am or not, can you still love, respect, and honor me? And for you as a believer, God has called you to be that person. To love, respect, and honor. That is your command. That is what God is ordering you to do when you go to work. Don't allow other people's pace to change yours. You are the pace setter. Let's say it again. I am a pace setter.